And I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts, but I was raised here in Atlanta. Atlanta really is my home. And, life's journey is really a journey. Can we relate to that? Sometimes you never know where you're going to go, where that journey is going to lead you, but you have to, when it hits you, or a challenge or a situation hits you, you just have to just adapt to it and work your way through it, because there's another one right around the corner, so you have to get through that one to get to the other one, and you're more prepared as you continue to go through situations, journeys, challenges. In the early days in college, I had some tragedy. My mom was murdered, and my brother and I basically raised each other, and I put him through college, and he ended up graduating from Morehouse. And then I lost a sister, a brother, and another brother, all in 5 years. So I lost 4 relatives in 5 years. So it was kind of traumatic for me dealing with that. And then the rest of the journey was somewhat single mom, things like that. But what I wanted to do and what I yearned for as a single African American male is the black male role model. I yearned for that. So I went to a church and got into the church and got really engaged in the church and identified with the black men in the church, and really it was the first time I saw like professional men, and it was good for me. I needed that particular thing, and through that particular space I ended up networking and getting involved in politics a little bit. And this is where the turn came. I was the deputy chief of staff for DeKalb County. Life was good, working for a guy named Vernon Jones. We had a phenomenal run. That was in the year 2000. So I'm starting at 2000, and I'm going to take you all the way up to this journey here of the networking. And things were just rolling. If you remember the night that Barack Obama spoke in Boston, do you remember that? Okay. Oh, you from Boston? Okay. Well, I was there, and it was a phenomenal, beautiful thing. And I actually was close, got behind stage and say hey to Barack. He was a senator then, and we had access. The next day, I had no idea that my life was about to change for the worse. I got caught up in a scandal. I got caught up in a scandal that was not sexy. It was pretty much, I thought I was going to lose my life. I actually wanted to snap. I used to go 1, 2, 3, snap. 1, 2, 3, snap. We had an event in the W Hotel in Perimeter, and there was a young lady. And the young lady was a networking event. And the young lady passed out. And she woke up in my hotel room. And she didn't know how she got there. And so all these accusations came about. I actually was just helping the young lady, but it still looked bad. Follow me? So what happened, because, if you're tied to politics, there's something called the media. So now keep in mind, I'm chief of staff and I'm handling communications. I'm rolling. We're having a ball. We're having ball. Money's good. Connectivity's good. Everything is great. And next thing you know, bam! All the people that I thought were my friends, and then the ones who were envious, they kicked me when I was down. I'm talking about kicked me. I had no friends whatsoever other than family. Family really was my nucleus. I was like, if I didn't have family, I don't know what I would have done. I had depleted all my savings. The DeKalb County cut off my money. They suspended me without pay in the middle of this scandal. And keep in mind, these news cycles run once or twice. My story was in the media for 27 days. 27 days that you can look at Fox 5, Channel 2, WSB, V103. One time, at that time, Frank Skeeton, they did a whole segment on me, of stuff that I was like, who is this person they're talking about? Not Lance, gets along with everybody. They painted me out like a villain. It was the lowest time of my life. I end up losing my house. I ran out of gas in my big body Mercedes-Benz. I ran out of gas. I was like 2-3 notes behind. I left that car on the expressway. I walked and I never looked back. I had hit a low, an all-time low. I had no idea what I was going to do, because even though I knew I was totally innocent and did nothing but actually try to save a young lady, but the optics, and because of my political connection, and so those who did not like my political affiliation, I became a pawn. And even the gentleman that I worked for, Mr. Jones, turned his back on me. And we had a previous friendship, a relationship for 15 years. So I felt lost. You know, I felt lost. I felt down. I had no idea what the next move for me was. Because of the charge was a pending felony, I couldn't even go get a real job because I had a pending felony against me. I had some very wicked thoughts of revenge, and I had to try to cleanse myself and try to just get up and do the best I can. I remember walking into an event, and at that time I had a good networking base before pre-scandal, walking into an event, and it was crowded. By the time I got there, it was like everyone just scattered. I mean, literally scattered. I looked around and there was nobody around me. Nobody wanted to talk to me. I left the event early and I shed a little man tears. It happens from time to time. I shed a little man tears and I said, wow, is this what it's going to be like for me? It was rough. It was really rough. So I started reading a lot of books and just trying to find myself, and I delved really heavy into church. I always had a church membership, but I delved heavy into church and tried to find my comfort zone with being imperfect. I'm flawed. I'm flawed. So I was like, how do I fit in church and walk this walk and try to cleanse, some of my shortcomings? It was rough. Read a lot of books, and I had a passion for the Hispanic community. I had a passion for small business. And prior to working for Vernon, I worked for the Census Bureau. I was the lead media director for 3 states in Georgia, Florida, and Alabama, over $29 million budget. So I was the census guy. I was the media guy. So then I left there to be with the Cobb County. When I was with the census, I saw that empirical data of diversity. I saw that empirical data by diversity, and I said, let me see how this works. So we're going to talk about that more, but I wanted to let you know that your starting point sometimes is not up here. Your starting point is sign in if you get a chance and just come on in and have a seat. Your starting point sometimes is just, guess what? It's where you are today. Your starting point is here. Each day you start off a new life. Each day, how you define tomorrow is what you do today. So now we're going to go over the top 10 results, okay? So you got a little feel a better bit about who Lance is, or who Lance, the struggles that I had to come through and coming through still, as we all do. This is what we have to do. Number one is I had to evaluate my brand. What type of brand did I have, and what is a brand? What is a brand? Can you define what? Yes.
More like what you stand for, what you represent, who you are.
That's what you got to sit.
A brand can be what people see when they see you, what they think about when they see you.
Because everyone talks about branding. What's a brand? What's a brand?
Perception of what they
There you go. It's a perception, or it's a negative, positive, or indifferent impression that somebody makes on you. When you look at somebody, sometimes you can look and say, that's a clean sister, or that's a sharp brother. Or when you look at let's say a Mercedes-Benz, that's a nice fly car. They have a brand. So when you look at it, so you have to start evaluating your brand. Most people's brand is associated with sometimes their company, sometimes their family, sometimes the way they dress. The way you dress is your first brand. That's the first visual aspect that somebody looks at you. The way you present yourself is you, because you are a brand, you are an institution, you are you. You are your brand. And one thing is really, I read this book. Some people are delusional. Some people think, is everybody grown in here? Okay. Some people think their shit don't stink. They think they can just walk on water. That's what they think. But somebody else can look at them and say, they see all those holes you got, they see all that crack, in your armor, and you can see it. So you might think you have, nice little cachet brand, but other people perceive you differently. When I get back to some of my college friends or high school friends, they look at me and they see me from that era when I did certain things in that particular space. So that's the only space they have. Some people can't even connect and see all the other things of who you are today. Can you relate to that? They can't even see that. So your brand is very important. It's key. It's key. Your presentation. Even before you open up your mouth, when you walk into that room, whatever way you want to be perceived or start that visual image is that. And that's why African Americans, based on the mainstream media, have a certain perceived brand in our community. They see us differently. Come on in. And you have your child. Y'all can sit right back over here. Come on right over here, that's fine. But your brand is very important, so look at yourself in the mirror, internally and externally, and see if you want to upgrade your brand, put a little polish on your brand, because every time we need a little polish on your brand. Ladies protect their brand because they're always at the hair salon, they're getting their nails did, they're getting things done because they want to protect their brand or how they look. Gentlemen and men, we're still working on our appearance, but what I could tell men is make sure first your nails are always clean. Don't walk around with dirty nails, really. Women will look at your nails, where they will look at it. So just keep them clipped, keep them nice and clipped, and keep them clean. That's part of your brand. It starts internally with the way you take care of yourself. Also, part of your brand is what you put into your body. I drink a lot of water. I eat fruit. Now, I'm not perfect. I love pizza. I love tacos, but I do it in moderation. Because you want to protect your brand, and protecting your brand is protecting your body. So you have to start within yourself. Modify some of your eating habits. Make sure your hygiene is clean. For me, from a professional standpoint, when I'm out, I try to always wear white shirts. White shirts, for some reason, that's just acceptable. There was a report, there was a black guy in a white neighborhood, and he walked around with a Starbucks cup. You hear me? And he was acceptable in that neighborhood because he had a brand of Starbucks. Okay, yeah. He's all right. Hey, how are you? Just because he had a Starbucks cup. Man, that same guy could be walking around if he had a beer can. You follow me? So it's all about your brand, and that goes also, your brand is also part of your association. Who do you associate with? Take a good look who's on your left, a good look who's on your right, of who you associate yourself with, because you know why? That's part of your brand. It's so important to make sure that when you build your brand and how you work your brand, you do it authentically.